Welcome to today's interview on Brighteon.com. I'm Mike Adams, the founder of Brighteon, and since we have the chromosome background, you probably know this is going to be something about medicine and health. And in fact, we have a superstar joining us today, Dr. Bryan Ardis. Welcome, Dr. Ardis. It's great to have you on the show today.
Mike, I feel like I'm with the superstar, buddy. It's great to spend time with you one more time. Love everything you're doing at Brighteon, man. I'm proud of you.
Well, we love having you on. We love what you're doing. And I've heard you're traveling around and speaking at all kinds of different events and educating people. It's amazing. But I wanted to ask you starting out, because I know you have an opinion on this. What's the deal with this Ozempic drug that is doing weird things to people?
Yeah, this is a hot topic. I've been very excited to see so many people are awake to this topic simply because Tucker Carlson decided to do an interview of some guy in the pharmaceutical industry about 2 weeks ago that actually had millions of views, but it was all about Ozempic, this new weight loss diabetes cure. And all of y'all should pay attention. I was in Los Angeles this weekend at the Conscious Living Expo, Mike, and I had a Q&A panel with me, Del Bigtree, Steve Kirsch, and others. I just asked the audience to raise their hand if anybody knew somebody on Ozempic. And Mike, the entire audience raised their hand.
Oh, you're kidding me.
I am not even joking. Then I said, hold up. Who's taking it that's in the audience? Who's on Ozempic? And several people raised their hands.
Oh,
and I
my.
went, man, am I glad y'all are here. Okay, great. Now I want everybody to open their phones that are in the audience, and I want you to look up Ozempic and Gila Monster Venom. That's all I said. Just look it up. And just so you know, all of you out there, you have no idea that this once-a-week injection that's being told to you to take for the rest of your life to lose weight and to help manage blood sugar is actually derived from Gila monster lizard venom. A venomous lizard in the desert is what you're injecting into your body once a week. What else should you know about this drug, everybody? Well, number one, you should all just know this. Mike, I'm sure you'll affirm this. I haven't met a single human on earth who was obese or a diabetic because they were Gila monster venom deficient. Have you?
Well, no, but maybe some of them are trying to return to their reptilian roots, and they just feel like they want to be closer to the venom injections or something. You know, it just feels more natural to them.
I think so. As people long for more natural resource drug therapeutics, they're turning to venoms found in natural animals around the planet. So this happens to be another. But what was shocking was at the Conscious Living Expo, not a single person in the audience. All of them raised their hands that they knew somebody on Ozempic. Several people raised their hands that they were on it. None of them knew that their loved ones or themselves were injecting themselves with a venom from a lizard in the desert, which has published black box warning side effects. Anybody taking that drug made from Gila monster venom, they published within 12 to 36 months of use will develop every form of thyroid cancer.
Oh my gosh, really?
That's the black box warning of Ozempic and Wegovy and all GLP-1 drugs, which are all made from Gila monster venom.
Okay, wait,
now,
wait a second. Let's actually back up a second, because I need you to review some of the side effects, because I don't cover this drug that much. I mean, we've done a few articles on it, but doesn't it also make people's faces age really rapidly and things like that? Is that the drug I'm thinking of?
This is a different drug than that one.
Oh,
however,
okay.
I will tell you what the side effects of Ozempic are, because this drug was FDA approved 5 years ago. It's already doing billions of dollars. And Mike, just for your audiences to know, you've got to understand, Novo Nordisk makes the drugs Ozempic and Wegovy, a Gila monster venom derived drug you inject inside your body once a week that they say you need to take for life.
Oh my gosh.
To maintain healthy weight loss and manage your blood sugar. For life. You don't come off the drug. They tell you you're going to take it every week for the rest of your life. Like this is the cure to your obesity and diabetes. Okay. So number one, I want you guys to know this drug is published to cause these 4 things, and you might as well know what they are. Number one, black box warning. You will develop every form of thyroid cancer within 12 months of starting it.
Oh my
12
God.
months to 36 months. Number two, it is published to cause gastroparesis. Would you like to define what that is, Mike, for the audiences?
Well, I'm guessing the porosity of your gastrointestinal tract and leakage into your blood of all kinds of horrible things that shouldn't go there. Is that right?
It is paralyzing your stomach from emptying.
Oh, that's
So
what it
as
is.
you so
Okay.
when they say that this drug, it actually, it contains a hormone that mimics hunger regulating hormones in humans.
Uh-huh.
You have to understand, Gila venom comes from a creature that only eats once or twice every 2 weeks. It doesn't eat very often. There's not very much food in the desert for it to eat. When you inject this inside your body, Mike, it actually binds the venom to your vagal nerve and it stops your stomach from emptying the food you swallowed.
Oh my gosh. So the food is just rotting in your stomach and putrefying without being digested?
Yes. In fact, people on your team should pull it up. In June of 2023 and in October of 2023, CNN has reported hundreds of thousands of people worldwide have had their stomachs paralyzed from Ozempic.
I
Now, this
have
is
read
what's
that.
crazy.
That's right. Their stomachs have been paralyzed where they can't eat ever again, like effectively without just vomiting, right?
Exactly right. And the side effect of gastroparesis from this venom is cyclic vomiting. And they report all over the media that these people are throwing up for 2 to 3 years later
Oh my
after
gosh.
stopping the drug. The venom doesn't want to leave the vagal nerve that it's binding to at these GLP-1 receptors. So as you swallow
Wow.
your food at breakfast, Mike, and you injected yourself with Ozempic, come lunchtime, you're not going to be hungry because the food is still rotting in your stomach and hasn't left to go inside your intestines. So when you add food at lunch and then later at dinner, because you know you're supposed to eat several times a day and you feel like you need to eat with your family and coworkers, you go to try to eat more food. Well, nothing has left your stomach from meals earlier. So you're going to throw up the food as it fills up in your esophagus. And this is what you
Ugh.
can expect to occur as a published side effects. And the FDA just added it as a warning label to the drug on
What
top of the thyroid cancer warning.
what's wrong with our culture where people can't just say, "Hey, maybe, put down the ice cream tub, take a walk once a day or something." I mean, why is it that everybody wants to just keep eating heavily processed, calorie-laden junk foods and have a sedentary lifestyle and then take an injection of venom to quote treat it? Like, this is my medicine. That is some kind of sick, twisted commentary on our culture today.
It is very ridiculous. And I really don't understand where people want to gravitate to the idea that someone else can develop a product that can actually change the results of all of my eating habits. Why
True.
don't you just change your eating habits? Why don't you stop eating so much? Why don't you get rid of sodas and Diet Cokes and whatever else you're doing? Why don't you just get rid of that stuff and start eating real food? How do you know if it's real food? It doesn't have a nutrition facts panel on it or a supplement facts panel on it. That's how you know. There's no label telling you there's ingredients. You don't find a label of ingredients on asparagus and broccoli when you pick it up in the produce aisle or at a farmer's market. That's because it's real food. It hasn't been processed or designed to, for whatever reason.
Or if it has a label, it's simple things that you can understand. Like
like
whey
broccoli.
protein, cacao powder, freeze-dried bananas, whatever. I mean, it's like, yeah, that makes sense. It's not all this crazy stuff, partially hydrogenated, perplexified, whatever, transhumanism molecules. All right, so anything else you want to add on
I do.
Ozempic? Yeah.
I do. All right. So Ozempic not only is published to cause every form of thyroid cancer within 12 months to 36 months, it's also published to cause gastroparesis, which is paralyzation of your stomach, leading to cyclic vomiting for years after stopping the drug, even after just a couple doses. This has happened to many people.
Wow.
Also, it's published to cause acute and chronic long-term kidney failure and short and long-term liver failure.
Ugh.
So if you have obesity, if you have diabetes, do you really think the alternative, the better option, is to inject yourself with something that's going to contribute to also now developing cancer, paralyzed digestion, kidney failure, and liver failure on top of your diabetes and your obesity? Do you think that's going to be beneficial?
And it's funny that modern medicine likes to make fun of nutrition and call it snake oil, but they're pushing lizard venom. I mean, that's way worse than snake. I mean, snake oil, the oil of a snake actually is some pretty healthy oil, come to think of it, nutritionally speaking. But lizard venom, that's what modern medicine has become, just pushing toxins. In fact, Dr. Ardis, you and I have covered this quite a bit over the last few years, but you have done, I think, more research than anybody in looking at the venom peptides that are used to make so-called modern medicines. Can you give us some other examples of popular medications that are made from, reptilian venom? or other types of venom,
Absolutely.
spider venom, whatever, cone, snail.
This is actually very important. Did you know that, Mike, the FDA just approved a drug to be going into the second clinical trials and third phase of clinical trials for humans? It already passed the first phase just a month or two ago. Do you know it's a topical gel to cure erectile dysfunction? And it's made from spider venom, a
What?
spider in Brazil. They take its venom. It's called the banana or the wooden spider, not a joke. They take its venom, put it in a gel, and they say that within 10 minutes, some men are developing an erection that'll last 4 hours. Now, I need to tell you something. The
Okay.
FDA just cleared this erectile dysfunction venom drug for erectile dysfunction. The actual drug company is testing it to see, does it create an erection? And that's all they're trying to get approval for, is to create an erection in people that can't get erections. You know what they publish about this venom actually in the documents by the company who's doing the actual research and
Mm-mm.
supplying that
I
data
can
to the
only
FDA?
guess.
They publish that if this spider's venom gets inside the blood of a human, these four side effects are what occur: seizures, strokes, heart attacks, and even death occur when this spider's venom gets inside your bloodstream. Now, Mike, this is for your audiences. In the next year or so, the FDA is going to approve a erectile dysfunctional topical gel. It's made from spider venom. You know, they have not tested that, nor will the FDA require the drug manufacturer of the spider venom gel. They will not require them to test their topical gel being applied to a penis and inserting that into a female or into their vagina. That's not going to be done.
No.
However, what happens if they bleed during sexual intercourse? What happens if there's homosexual anal fissures or something in sex? If the venom of the spider gets inside the female's bloodstream or a male or partner's bloodstream, it is published to cause seizures, strokes, heart attack, and can lead to death. Why would they introduce this as any kind of potential therapeutic to reverse erectile dysfunction? I can't even fathom why this is
Okay,
beneficial.
so wait a minute. This topical pecker applied zombie death drug that you're referring to here. So people are going to be having sex, and the partner is going to just like have seizures and die
If
from
it gets
from
inside
the
their
spider
bloodstream,
venom.
I mean, seriously, if anything goes into the vaginal cavity or like in your mucosal cavity of your mouth,
Yeah,
instead
you're
of
going to
getting absorbed
absorb
into
it.
your bloodstream,
Absolutely.
this is so ridiculous.
I
So
mean, that's
this is
yeah.
an example. And at the actual Conscious Living Expo, I'm just going to share here. I looked at the audience and I said, all of you that did not know any of your friends and yourselves were injecting yourself with Gila monster venom called Ozempic and Wegovy. All of you, did you know that anybody on an ACE inhibitor high blood pressure drug that ends with the abbreviation PRIL, lisinopril, enalapril, captopril? Captopril was the first. It was actually marketed and sold and approved by the FDA in 1981. Ever since then, drugs like captopril and lisinopril, 22 million Americans woke up this morning, Mike, swallowing dried snake venom from a Jaracus viper in Brazil. And they call the blood pressure drug lisinopril or captopril. Every ACE inhibitor drug to lower your blood pressure is a neurotoxin from the venom of the Jaracus viper in Brazil. Now, why is this such a big deal? 22 million Americans are also receiving for pain a drug called Prialt. Prialt is made from the venom of snails in the ocean called cone snails. This snail's venom is known to be extremely deadly to humans. And do you know that this drug has a published side effect that once it's injected,
Dr.
that it
Artis, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm just showing the image while you're talking. Keep talking, but here's the image of modern medicine. The serpent.
cult of Asclepius, the serpent around the rod, you
Yeah,
ain't lying.
exactly. Yeah, I'm
Serpent in
just
the
bringing
mouth.
that up. Continue. Sorry to interrupt.
So cone snail venoms in the form of a drug called Prialt, or ziconotide is its generic name. This drug made from snail venom is published to have this side effect. Once it's introduced into a human, it's actually published. Look it up on drugs.com, rx.com, webmd.com. The drug Prialt, made from the venom of cone snails that 22 million Americans are taking for pain. This drug causes individuals psychologically to hold, I quote, to hold to false beliefs, even in the presence of facts.
Ooh, yeah.
Isn't
Well,
that
that might make them great Joe Biden voters. But, the FAA has announced they're hiring people with severe psychiatric disorders. It's a priority for them. Also, cognitive retardation is high on the FAA's list. Think about that next time you fly. By the way, air safety is run by the FAA, actually hiring psychos and retards. I mean, clinically speaking, that's the right term. They do that on purpose, but seems like the drugs you're describing, Dr. Ardis, are turning America into a nation of like venom paralyzed. I mean, what do you even call this? It's like
Mike,
the zombie apocalypse.
sounds like a zombie apocalypse. But let me tell you what my number one concern with all of these drugs are, and I want to make sure that everybody gets it here. If you are taking a drug that you are swallowing, applying to your pecker, or you're actually injecting inside of yourself like Ozempic or Wegovy, any drug that is made from venom, whether it's synthetic venom or actual venom, since 1956, a guy named Dr. Stanley Cohen and his lab partner, Rita, they discovered that human beings and all mammals and birds, if you expose their body topically or inside the body, inject them with venom of any kind, snake venom, scorpion venom, spider venom. Did you know, Mike, that they published in 1956 that when venom gets close to nerves and nerve cells in the brain or spinal cord of a mammal or a bird, it causes rapid tumor growth?
No.
They called it nerve growth factor and said this is an invisible side effect of snake venom. When we introduce this into a mammal or a bird, you get rapid tumors being made in the brain and spinal cords.
Oh, boy.
5 years later, they discovered that venom also, when exposed to all epidermal tissue, which is all your organs and your skin, all organs and your skin have epidermal tissue. When you expose venom to those tissues in a mammal, 100% of those tissues will develop cancerous tumors. And they called this factor of venom epidermal growth factor, EGF for short. Do you know, Mike, that in 1986, when Ronald Reagan signed the Immune Liability Act for the Vaccine Manufacturers of America, no more liability to you if you hurt people with these drugs. You know, in the same exact year, the Nobel Laureate Society gave Rita and Dr. Stanley Cohen a Nobel Prize for discovering in 1956 and 1961 that venoms in a human cause all forms of cancer. This is why lisinopril, the discussion about ACE inhibitor drugs made from snake venom, is so important. Mike, when we did our 3-part series after the Watch the Water documentary, lots of MDs were upset to find out that I was suggesting that people could swallow snake venom and get their side effects. And all I said to them was every single medical doctor around the world had no idea that lisinopril they were prescribing was made from snake venom, from a viper in Brazil.
In fact, I want to ask you, Dr. Ardis, I want to ask you, when you first came out with that, what you were just referring to, the very first interview that we did here, you were in studio here. I remember you had all your notes on that screen right there. There was so much pushback, even from so-called alternative complementary doctors, so much pushback. But has that changed since then? Because the evidence is so overwhelming. I mean, you and I did interviews talking about entire powerful corporations that do nothing but venom research for medicine. I mean, one of them is called Venom Tech, by the way. I think that's out of the UK. Has it changed now?
Oh, it has changed massively. And what really helped was all of your work, Mike, behind the scenes, working to gather up all that information from the NIH, where they had published that there are venoms from snakes that can be wrapped in nanoparticles and delivered through water delivery systems.
Right.
This was a global press release by Venom Tech the same week our interviews went out, Mike, about this. It was incredible. So I appreciated that. That was very helpful. But the thing I think that changed the most views worldwide, and I'm talking even mainstream medicine, the NIH in May of 2023, right after Joe Biden dismisses the emergency of COVID nationally, the very next week, the NIH released a paper that they funded and paid for and oversaw. It is titled SARS-CoV-2 Spike ectodomain, the spike protein on the outside of the virus, targets, this is the title, nicotine receptors. And the very first paragraph in the summary of the paper states that the spike proteins of COVID are identical to snake venom neurotoxins. And
Wow.
they put it right there, published it, peer reviewed, published it. All these medical professionals from around the world were like, oh my God, Dr. Artis, why is the NIH admitting it now? We're sorry we treated you the way we did. I heard that a ton. Why do you think they're admitting it now? And this is exactly what I said. Because the COVID-19 national emergency just ended. So now they're going to give you some partial truths, which is that venom truly does represent the spike proteins of COVID.
No.
And I find this very interesting, Mike, and you might too.
You just mentioned nicotine. I want to pivot and talk about nicotine because I want to bring people solutions today as well. But let me give out your website first, thedrartisshow.com. Got it on screen for people to see. And you've got a lot there. Also, we ran your program, Healing for the Ages, on Brightown University recently. Very popular, got a lot of positive feedback on that. And I just want to encourage people to check out your website and see all the work that you're doing, which is really extraordinary. But yeah, talk about nicotine, because you have found through your research and you've really advocated for the use of nicotine patches. We're not talking about telling people to take up smoking cigarettes, obviously, but nicotine patches. And tell us about what you've discovered with nicotine as I guess even a prophylactic to prevent spike protein damage.
That is a very good term, prophylactic, but it's not just prophylactic. In January of 2023, Mike, I'm not even sure. It's amazing how many places I've spoken at, done interviews, and I'm sorry if we haven't done this on your show yet. January of 2023, there's a peer-reviewed published paper. They took long hauler COVID patients, Mike, who had a combined 21 different symptoms that included these things since having a mild case of COVID 2 years earlier. So they went around the world and they looked for people who had a combination of these 21 different symptoms they call long hauler COVID symptoms, or post-COVID syndrome, as they like to call it. So people got a mild case of COVID. Now they have these symptoms that won't leave for up to 2 years. In January of 2023, these scientists asked all the people around the world who were still struggling for 2 years, or at least 2 years, loss of taste and smell, vertigo, ring in their ears also, ring in their ears tinnitus, vertigo, dizziness, POTS-like symptoms. Also those that struggled with exercise-induced asthma, new onset of diabetes, new onset of high blood pressure diagnosis, insomnia, not being able to sleep throughout the night. These are all published side effects that they call long-term COVID or long haulers COVID. In January 2023, these scientists asked a whole bunch of people to come in. They surveyed them to find out who had the worst cases of all these symptoms. And they found 4 of the worst cases they could find that had all these problems. And they said, we want to do a study with you for just 6 days of treatment. We would like to ask all of you, after suffering for 2 whole years, would you be willing to wear a nicotine patch for 6 days? Now, each of the 4 people had to be tobacco or nicotine naive, meaning they've never used tobacco products or nicotine products in their whole life. And all 4 of these people had never used it, did not trust it, thought it was addictive and all other kind of issues. These scientists looked at them and said, well, the reason why we want you to do this is because 2 countries, China and France, they referenced the studies in 2020, confirmed the origin of COVID was from 2 snakes' venoms, the king cobra and the crate snake. And we reviewed those research studies in your studio.
That's
in
right.
Our Part 3 series. Then they published that the French researchers in April of 2020, Mike, 4 years ago, they said, when we ran DNA tests on the spike proteins of COVID, they're identical to these 2 snake venoms neurotoxins, cobra toxin and bungarotoxin. And these 2 venom proteins are unique. They solely bind to nicotine receptors, and this finally explains in April of 2020, imagine that, 4 months into the pandemic, they said this finally explains why medical doctors and scientists around the world have been perplexed, because smokers aren't getting COVID.
Right.
Now, all of a sudden, they realize that the nicotine binding to the same receptors these venom proteins do blocks venom from actually affecting those cells. Well, these scientists in January of 2023, just last year, said, let's have you guys wear 6 days of a 7 milligram nicotine patch, and we want you to track for us all of your symptoms you've had since having COVID 2 years ago.
Is that a lot of nicotine? I'm not familiar with the dosing of nicotine. 7 milligrams.
Very good. That's a great question to answer here for people because they probably don't know either. So there's 3 sizes of nicotine patches: 7 milligrams, 14 milligrams, and 21 milligrams.
Oh, so it's the lowest. Okay.
So this is the lowest one. They asked them to wear it for 6 days. Mike, half of all their symptoms were gone immediately on the first day of wearing the patches.
Oh my.
They only wore them for 6 days. Of the 4 individuals, the longest lasting symptom to disappear was day 23 after starting the 6 days of patches. So they all wore the patch for 6 days. But the nicotine in their body continued to heal them and release those venom proteins. The last one to leave was 23 days for one of the individuals. Some of those individuals, all their symptoms were gone within 6 days. And not a single person, they reported, were addicted or dependent upon nicotine afterwards. And I've actually published this. Everyone around the world, you're convinced that nicotine is addictive. I need to tell your audiences right now, nicotine is not addictive. How do I know? Because nicotine's in eggplants, cauliflower, every red tomato you've ever eaten, every single celery you've ever eaten, every single bell pepper you've ever eaten, and every single green tomato you've ever eaten, and every single white potato an American has ever eaten also has nicotine. You know, it's amazing.
Okay.
No one's ever been addicted to cauliflower or addicted to eggplants or zucchini.
Well, sometimes I do feel addicted to potatoes, but only with onions.
Fried. Yeah.
No, this goes against everything that we've been taught about, cigarette smoking and habit forming and so on. So you're saying that nicotine is not addictive when it administered in a patch form. Are you saying that nicotine is also not addictive when smoked? I mean, how do you explain smoking addiction?
This is great. So in the year 2015, it was a part of my Conscious Living Expo presentation that everybody can download for free at the Dr. Ardis Show under patient resources. I have the entire 353 slide presentation just for you. And in the middle of the presentation, Harvard in the year 2015 did a 6-month study to see how addictive is nicotine, cocaine, heroin, sugar, you name it, in animals.
Did they use Hunter Biden as a test subject?
I wish, but that wasn't one of the animals.
Okay, all right.
So
continue.
After 6 months, Mike, Harvard couldn't make a single animal addicted to nicotine. So really? Harvard submitted FOIA requests to the FDA in 2015 and said, we need all the R&D papers, research and development papers for all the tobacco giants in America, going back all the way to the 60s. And they got it, Harvard did, from the FDA, only to find that in the 1970s, very early on in 1970 to be exact, the tobacco giants hired chemists to come in and find out how to make their tobacco products more addictive.
Yes.
And the chemist told them, that's super easy. All you have to do is add a chemical to anything humans consume, and they will be addicted to it. And the chemical is called pyrazines, Pyrazines.
Whoa.
And there are over 13 current different pyrazines that the FDA allows to be added to tobacco products.
Wait a minute. So you're saying this is what makes them addictive, not the nicotine?
Oh, yeah. That's what Harvard said. That's what Harvard found out. I'm just repeating what the scientist already did.
Wow. So, I mean, gosh, there's so many realizations from this. I mean, that sounds like criminal intent on the part of big tobacco, by the way, to add those in, and then criminal complicity on the part of the FDA if what you're saying checks out. Because, I mean, we know from people, I mean, I've known people who were smokers and it is very difficult for them to quit, but you're explaining why. It's these pyrazines, as you're saying, not the nicotine.
100% is the pyrazines, and Harvard even stated over and over and over in their study, it's the pyrazines, not the nicotine, that makes tobacco products addictive.
Well, hold on a second. Does that mean that people who smoke just straight tobacco leaf, like rolled tobacco leaf, isn't there a brand of like Native American cigarettes or something that doesn't have all that crap in it? And are those not addictive?
Spirits. Yeah, exactly right. Those people are not addicted to their tobacco products.
Really?
No Native American smoking peyote and tobacco ever was addicted to it. Nicotine is not addictive. They made it addictive. Now, this is important. Why are they attacking nicotine? Since 1994 is when the FDA said nicotine was addictive, and they've said it every day since, even though all tobacco industry CEOs were called into Congress in 1994 and asked to swear under oath was nicotine addictive or not.
I remember seeing that. I saw that one by one. They all swore nicotine was not addictive.
Every single one of them said, we swear nicotine is not addictive.
But I was laughing at that at the time. I was like, these guys are lying. Because, of course, that's all I knew at the time.
Exactly right. We all thought they were lying. They weren't lying. The FDA was lying. The FDA has been lying ever since. And there's references in my presentation from 2002. Scientists knew that nicotine wasn't addictive. Harvard redid the study in 2015 and found out nicotine wasn't addictive either. They just took it a step further and were able to figure out the chemicals added to tobacco products, including snuff, smoking, cigarettes, you name it. Anything with tobacco, they're loading it with pyrazines to make it addictive. And pyrazines are typically added to products to increase aroma qualities, give it certain tones and hints. That's what it's for, but it makes it very addictive. And Harvard even said it's not addictive. It's pyrazines that create the dependency on tobacco products. In 2000.
Dr. Artis, I probably would not have believed this except for the fact that we've watched what the FDA did with ivermectin. So they knew ivermectin worked. They knew ivermectin would save lives. It would end the pandemic. So they viciously attacked it. They lied about it. It was pushed onto doctors and hospitals that you can never administer ivermectin. I mean, how many people died because ivermectin was withheld from them? Now we know that when something works, the FDA will seek to destroy it. And it sounds like you're saying that's exactly what they've done with nicotine.
They really have. Mike, one of the big deals about nicotine right now is nicotine as early as April of 2020 was confirmed to be the antidote or one of the many antidotes to COVID in the pandemic. And the researchers in April of 2020 in their paper from France said, we now know this is a central nervous system disease, not a respiratory disease they're calling COVID. And if we want all governments around the world to fund studies on nicotine agents, including gum, suckets, tablets, and pouches, and patches. And they stated in their published paper, they stated, we believe nicotine can end the pandemic. So the very next week is when our government in May of 2020 starts telling the whole world that smokers are at the highest risk for getting COVID. And it's no better time than now to quit smoking. And they've been pummeling us with that ever since.
Right.
That's because people that were smoking weren't being affected by COVID because of the blessing of the nutrient, not the drug, called nicotine.
Does that also mean that people who are taking in nicotine, either through smoking or patches, are also less likely to be harmed by the vaccines because the vaccines generate spike protein in your body?
Absolutely, 100%. It is one of the biggest blessings to people who have been vaccine injured. There's been a few things like Dr. Ed Group that you've had in studio there, and that is a part of our Healing for the Ages team. He has gone far into depth for years on the benefits of urine therapy. We all know urine neutralizes venom, or else all of you wouldn't know when I asked you, if you're at a beach and get stung by a jellyfish, what should you do? Everybody would say,
yeah, pee on it. Yeah,
because you're neutralizing the jellyfish's venom. That's what urine does. So when Ed Group brought this out, that was great. Nicotine with that urine therapy, people around the world are reporting miraculous recoveries from vaccine injuries. And this isn't the only thing we're telling people to do. It just happens to be the two things that are creating such massive amounts of relief. And it all goes back to the fact that spike proteins were identified through DNA testing, not just in China, not just in France, not just in Italy, and not by our NIH in May of 2023 to be snake venom proteins. All these countries said it was, and they're all binding to these nicotine receptors, and nicotine's the antidote and was always an antidote to COVID. Mike, wow. in Wisconsin hospitals, at the University of Wisconsin's hospital, in 2021, they had a floor designated for 54 current smokers who had COVID. They were obese, diabetic, cardiovascular health issues, but they were all in COVID wards on one floor. All 59 of them, 4 died on the remdesivir COVID-19 ventilation protocol, but none of these people being vented for this COVID protocol could smoke. When 5 of them died of the 59 people or 54 people in this ward on this one floor, University of Wisconsin medical doctors, Mike, said to themselves and then did it. They said, what do you think will happen if we put 21 milligram nicotine patches on these people? Mike, they put 21 milligram nicotine patches every day on these current smokers that couldn't smoke who were failing in these COVID-19 hospital wards. They slapped the 21 milligram nicotine patch. 100% of all of them went home by day 5.
No kidding. Okay, wait a second. I've got a couple of questions for you about these patches. Now, I actually, because of your work, many months ago, I purchased a bunch of nicotine patches for my emergency medical stockpile. I also looked at nicotine gum, and it's all loaded with other crap ingredients. Every gum that I could find was just full of crap. Do you have, is there a particular brand of patches that you might recommend, or gum that you might recommend? I mean, because, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so Dr. Ed Group and I privately and individually were doing research on this for months to try to find what's the cleanest, least toxic form of an adhesive patch, and what is the most cleanest, healthiest form of a gum that we can get people to get access to. Remember, the study was for 6 days. These people's symptoms they struggled with for 2 years disappeared with just 6 days
Wow.
of treatment. We're not telling you to use these patches forever, although I am. And
You are?
I'll explain to you why. I think it's important. Everyone around the world asks me, why do I use it and how long? How to use it and how long? And I'll tell you why. All right, so we tested all these. The 2 brands we found are the cleanest. And when I mean clean, my wife is super sensitive to adhesives. She's very allergic to latex. You put it on her, she'll start itching and get a rash. The only brand we found that doesn't have any of that effect on her or anybody else that I have found, and Ed Group and I confirmed this is the cleanest brand of patches, is the Rugby brand. And Rugby doesn't have its own store online. It's only on Amazon.com for some reason, but this is the actual cleanest brand of patch. It is the only patch I wear. It's the only patch my wife wears. The only gum that my wife uses and that I recommend to the whole world is a brand called Lucy. And Lucy, Lucy, is out of the UK. And you can buy that online also. And so that's what we have here. That's what Dr. Henry Ely uses every day. That's what my wife uses every day. And that's what lots of people around the world prefer. If you want to use the gums, you can. Just don't do more than 2 milligrams at a time with the gum. You have to recognize the nicotine is going to release the venoms from the cells. Those venoms are going to float around in either your bowels or your bloodstream or lymph fluid. You will feel sick. Some people will feel nauseous. They'll feel like they need to puke or throw up slightly.
Really?
Especially if they do the 4 milligram gum. And I do not tell anybody to do that. I always tell people only 2 milligrams, do it a couple times a day. And Mike, worldwide, loss of taste and smell completely reversed in 3 days or less for everybody I've talked to worldwide.
You're kidding me.
No, worldwide.
Because I still get that question from some people, like, how do I reverse the loss of taste and smell? But is that effect also through the patches as well as the gum? Is it the same?
Absolutely. It's just skipping your intestines. You know, you're not swallowing it. It's not going down in your throat. It's going right into your bloodstream through your skin. And for me, I'll just tell you, anytime I ever chewed 2 milligram gum, I would feel nauseous like in 20 minutes, but I wouldn't go throw up. I would just feel queasy. And when I wear the patches, I don't feel anything. I just feel great all the time.
I see.
And I want to share with the audiences why it is I'm going to wear a nicotine patch every day the rest of my life. I've been wearing one every single day for the last 2 years.
Okay.
I wear, and I only recommend if you are not sick, if you're not sick from COVID, vaccine injured, the recommended dose I tell people to take prophylactically for life is a 3.5 milligram nicotine patch.
Oh.
I buy the 21 milligram patches from Rugby, and I cut them into 7 strips.
Okay.
So I get 3 milligrams every day. So I'm just wearing a little strip on my right side here of my chest, and I wear it on my ribs every day. You can put it on your arm, inner thigh, whatever. But I want to tell your audiences what it is I presented at the Conscious Living Expo, and I've been talking about around the world about the nicotine. Mike, do you remember us going through in your studio? Conotoxins, 15 different cone snail venoms found in the Carlo Brogna study from Italy. Found in COVID-19 patients' blood and feces. It's called conotoxins. They also discovered that the spike protein of COVID was identical to cobra toxin, and many people had this already on their radar. Dr. Richard Fleming had it on his first poster for the origins of COVID. Cobra toxin from the king cobra was on there. I just want y'all to know this is well known and documented. During the pandemic and after my interview with you, Mike, the first time for that 3-part series, In 2021, scientists around the world were injecting cone snail venom and cobra toxin into animals. And they published that they could create a glioblastoma brain tumor in less than 72 hours. After they create and confirm the brain tumor has been created, a turbo cancer in your brain in less than 72 hours with these venoms that were found in every COVID patient, these scientists turned around after 72 hours and confirming with an electron microscope the growing tumors in the brains of these animals. They turned around and they injected 3 different doses of nicotine for 3 days. And they reversed the brain tumor in less than 72 hours. It dissolved. Oh. That's amazing. How many glioblastoma sufferers right now after getting the COVID-19 vaccines being diagnosed with turbo cancers and dying? How many of those oncologists have ever known or heard that nicotine was a cure for glioblastoma? Did you know, Mike?
And that you can grow tobacco. I mean, you can grow your own medicine. The plant synthesizes nicotine for free. I mean, this could be a threat to the entire multi-billion-dollar cancer industry.
Mike, I just told your whole audiences that since 1956, we knew venom in the human causes cancers of all tissues.
Yep.
And those venoms all target alpha-7 nicotinic acetylcholine receptors. That nicotine in food, including your vegetables and nightshade vegetables, is supposed to bind to protect you from venom toxins. So what's the reason the FDA since 1994 for 30 years has been telling you it is an addictive, cancer-causing chemical when it's not? Because it was always the antidote of the planned pandemic, COVID-19. And they spent 30 years since 1994. Half of all American adults in 1994 were smoking cigarettes. When they started telling you that it was addictive, by the year 2020, when the COVID-19 pandemic started, it was only 10% of Americans were smoking. Now you have 90% of all American adults who were ripe and ready to get sick with their venom-laced pandemic.
Wow.
That's the reason for the lie. And just so you know, you should show your audiences, if you don't do it here, everyone at home, go look it up. Now, within 1 month of our interviews, Mike, 2 years ago, within 1 month, America, England, Canada, New Zealand, and Australia, all in the same week, stated, we have new health agendas for our country. We are going to eradicate all tobacco products and nicotine products from our citizens by the year 2030.
Oh, this explains the attack on vaping then.
Exactly right.
Okay, hold on a second. We're almost out of time, by the way. This is fascinating. I do not want to end this, but we have another interview coming up. But I just want to cover this. So you're saying that Rugby patches, that's the brand of patch that you've looked at. And then for the gum, Lucy, is there another one called In the Sky with Diamonds after that one? Or is it just Lucy?
It's just Lucy.
Okay, just Lucy. Anyway, so Rugby and Lucy are I'm showing them on Amazon here. These are the brands that that you've looked at.
That we recommend.
I've heard that there are, cognitive focus benefits from nicotine. Are you experiencing that?
Every day, Mike, when I put it on within 20, 30 minutes, my vision's clearer and brighter. My mental clarity is better.
Really?
My memory's better. In fact, that's one of the #1 published benefits of nicotine is cognitive improvement. And I want to tell the world, go download this is not a joke, the Conscious Living Expo presentation underneath patient resources at the Dr. Ardis Show. Mike, on the front row, this weekend, a couple came from Alaska. She'd been putting nicotine patches on her husband, 7 milligram nicotine patches for 6 months. He's had Parkinson's for years. 100% of all of his Parkinson's symptoms were eradicated within just a few weeks of using nicotine. She will use it the rest of her life. And her and her husband flew from Alaska to sit on the front row to cry through my presentation and thank me for helping to rescue his life with nicotine patches. Now, I want to throw this out there. Mike, this is not a joke. I showed the entire world at this presentation, and we're doing it here. Did you know that nicotine is proven to slow the progress and reverse all Parkinson's disease symptoms?
I did not know that.
Did you know that nicotine is published to prevent, reverse, and cure Alzheimer's dementia and all symptoms related to Alzheimer's?
Somebody tell the White House.
Yeah. Did you know that nicotine is proven to help improve hypothyroidism. I didn't
No,
even
you're
know that.
kidding me.
I'm not joking. And did you know? And did you know that multiple sclerosis is reversed with nicotine and improved with nicotine administration?
No, I had
Did
no
you know
idea.
glioblastomas and brain tumors could be cured with nicotine? Did you know that? This is not a joke. Did you know autism? They have done studies with nicotine patches in autistic kids and adults, and they have published that a 7 milligram nicotine patch for less than a week actually reverses all of their antisocial behavior and all of their aggression.
Really?
Isn't that amazing?
That's, I mean, that's hard to believe, but
nicotine is right for you. Ask your doctor.
ask your doctor. Well, of course, you can buy these things over the counter right now.
Absolutely.
Probably until the FDA tries to crush everything about nicotine as people learn it. But, you know, you can grow tobacco yourself, folks. I mean,
yeah, let me mention one other thing. So there's a product called Foreign Protein Cleanse made by Global Healing and Ed Group himself and his team. Okay.
Yep.
Foreign Protein Cleanse we created to help handle the spike protein issue worldwide. Inside of this product, we sourced, it's called Indian tobacco. It's called lobelia. That's the first ingredient in here.
Lobelia.
You know that,
yeah. No, I'm very familiar with that herb. Yeah.
You know that in that herb, it has a substance called lobeline that has the exact same action as nicotine?
No, I did not recall that.
And yet Joe Biden did not come out 2 months ago and say, we're going to reduce the allowed amount of lobeline inside a Foreign Protein Cleanse. No, 2 months ago, Joe Biden said he's going to be the first president of the United States to reduce for the first time ever and limit the amount of nicotine allowed in all tobacco products.
Wow. Wow.
There's a reason why they're going after nicotine, people. Be ready. So we are going to be creating, and already are, products with mimicking action components from nature like lobeline that have the same preventative measures, protective measures as nicotine does. And if and when we do, we will come up with other products with lobeline in it, and you will be shocked to see the benefits. People around the world are reporting incredible benefits when starting Foreign Protein Cleanse, whether for acute COVID patient symptoms or long hauler COVID symptoms, but bigger inside of the vaccine injured.
Well, that is quite a little teaser to leave us with. I'm sorry that we're out of time because we'll have to have you back, maybe you and Ed together or something to talk about this.
We should actually.
Once again, just showing that Mother Nature and God have provided the molecules that we need to be healthy and disease-free. And there's so many examples of that. Even ivermectin came from soil microbes, by the way, right? So people, stop injecting venom into your bodies. Stop swallowing snake venom. I mean, turn to natural medicine. Dr. Ardis, we're out of time, but it's been great having you on today. Let me plug your website again, bring it up here. TheDrArdisShow.com is where people can hear from you. And
if you scroll down farther, show the Antidote documentary little image.
There it is.
That right there, the Antidote.
Okay.
This has been watched by medical doctors around the world and said it was the greatest presentation they've ever seen related to venoms and COVID.
Okay. Fantastic. Love it. All right. Well, please come back and give us more details about the lobelia tincture. That sounds really fascinating, and I'm sure you have a lot of information about that. But let's do that again soon.
Yeah, you're welcome. God bless you, Mike Adams and Brighteon.tv and Brighteon.com. You're doing a great job. I couldn't be more proud of you.
Thank you, Dr. Ardis. Happy to know you, honored to know you, honored to have you on the show today. Thank you for all your work and for helping to empower humanity with knowledge.
I mean it, man. You're helping a ton of people get the truth, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
We're doing our best. Thank you. Have a great day. All right, folks, Dr. Brian Ardis. Wow, what an amazing, just groundbreaking interview. Dr. Ardis is such a pioneer, and he's willing to go after the paradigms that have defined modern medicine for so long. And as we're increasingly finding out, those paradigms are just completely fraudulent. COVID really just exposed the total fraud of a lot of things, including, you know, PCR tests and the assumptions of virology, all kinds of things. It's amazing. But anyway, feel free to repost this interview on other channels and platforms as well. I'm Mike Adams, the founder of Brighteon.com. Thank you for watching today. Take care, everybody. I want to show you what we have put together here in terms of our really popular, now wheat-free, certified organic, lab-tested macaroni and cheese meal mixes. I've got them on my desk here. The way we sell them, it's in a mini bucket format. You see the bottom ones there. And inside each bucket are 3 of these packs right here, which is, you know, vacuum packed. It's nitrogen flooded and then vacuumed in a very rugged, long-term, stable bag. This is wheat-free. It's made out of amaranth. as well as quinoa. And so this holds its shape and texture and tastes really great. It's not like gritty and mushy like whole wheat macaroni tends to be. So we have this, and then this is a cheese pack that's also very durable, rugged packing. And this, no garbage, no artificial colors, no fillers, nothing like that. And in the cheese pack are very simple certified organic ingredients. Check it out. Organic white cheddar powder, organic heavy cream powder, organic butter powder, organic whey protein powder, organic onion powder, and organic black pepper powder. And that's it, folks. There's no fillers, no artificial flavors, no artificial colors. I mean, no colors of any kind actually in it. And it's very easy to make. It's extremely delicious. Now, it does not have any salt added. We did that on purpose because we wanted people to be able to salt it according to your own taste. So for those having a low sodium diet, you can easily incorporate this. I mean, check the nutrition facts label. It still does have sodium naturally in the cheese, but we did not add any salt. So it can be incorporated into a low sodium diet if that's something that you're paying attention to. For the rest of us, I add salt to this, by the way, and I don't normally add salt to anything, but this is so low in the salt because we didn't add any salt to the recipe that I think you actually have to add a little bit of salt to bring out the flavor and make it taste really delicious. And then it does when you add a little bit of salt to it. So this is, all you got to do is boil water. You boil the elbows for 5 to 10 minutes, and then you add in the cheese powder, you stir it in, you're done. And it's super delicious. This is a really great preparedness meal. I think you'll really love this. We also have, this is very popular. It is an organic banana, peanut butter, and chocolate instant superfood shake. Now, this product, which is available in various quantities, if you go to our store, you can just buy one canister, or you can buy them in groups. This also is very delicious, but very simple. Look at the ingredients. Organic whey protein powder, banana powder, also organic, peanut butter powder, cocoa powder, coconut sugar, which is a low glycemic sweetener. And that's it, folks. It's all organic. It's laboratory certified. It's super delicious. It blends with water or other kinds of milks. It could be a nut milk or cow's milk or whatever you want. It's delicious, hot or cold. And it's incredibly nutritious and very clean because we do all the testing. So these are two relatively new products, well, brand new actually, that are in stock right now, at least at the moment, and will probably be sold out of them pretty quickly, but we'll make more. It just takes time to source all these ingredients. It took us many months to get the cheddar cheese powder and the organic cream powder, the butter powder, and the whey. I mean, frankly, all the animal products are taking a very long time to get sourced right now, but we're doing the best we can. We have these available, super delicious. And this is just the first of many kind of instant meals that we're formulating right now. So macaroni and cheese is one of many that we'll have soon. We're going to have different kind of soups, like a lentil soup and also an organic chili product. And they're all going to be based on the same kind of philosophy. Clean, simple, lab-tested ingredients with no artificial anything whatsoever, and also very lower sodium compared to what's typically out there. Because I don't know about you, but I don't want to just eat a bunch of salt and MSG. That's what a lot of storable food is, just a bunch of salt and sugar and MSG and textured vegetable protein garbage. And we're not into that, not at all. This is real food, real nutrition, real taste, and it's available right now at healthrangerstore.com. Just go there. You can search for peanut butter to find our chocolate banana peanut butter shake, or if you want the macaroni and cheese, just go to healthrangerstore.com and search for the organic wheat-free macaroni and cheese with no salt added. Or check out our hundreds of other products, such as, like, you can look at herbs right here, all these different categories, different herbs and tinctures. We have garden seeds, we have superfoods, we have personal care products. Here we have organic turmeric gold extract. We have the knives, the Dawson knives. I've co-designed these with Dawson knives. You probably heard about these. This is under preparedness, survival gear. We've got, well, let me just show you. We've got all the different knives right here made of the corrosion resistant Magna Cut alloy, mass ratio is one very popular. That's back in stock now. Consequences, Covert Knife, and more. We've got other knives available, including Escape from LA. Hey, I wonder, is that sold out? Hard to keep in stock. But check it all out at healthrangerstore.com. This is how you can support us, and then we give back to you in a multitude of ways with knowledge, with empowerment, with the large language model we're going to be giving away here soon, coming up end of March, with all the interviews and all the things that we do. Plus, we just made a $100,000 donation to Convoy of Hope of non-GMO vitamin C. So when we are able to, we buy an extra large batch of raw materials, and then we use our in-house manufacturing and testing, and we will overproduce certain batches, knowing that we can use Convoy of Hope to distribute them to people in need. And that it's a Christian-based ministry that distributes food and supplements. And we've worked with them several times now. And just the other day, $100,000 worth of vitamin C. So that's going out into the hands of people in need across America. Sometimes they distribute to other nations, but they focus on the United States of America. And we will continue to support people in need anywhere that we can. Remember that our slogan is the Health Ranger Store, healing the world with clean food. That's our philosophy. That's what we practice. That's what we preach. That's what we do. We do the lab testing. We manufacture clean, simple ingredients that are authentic and pure and tasty. It's like nothing else that you've ever seen in the processed food industry or the processed storable food industry. And a lot of the survival food out there is just heavily processed garbage. I'm sorry to say, that's just honest truth of what it is. You want real food? Come to healthrangerstore.com. Thank you for your support. I'm Mike Adams, the founder of Brighttown.com and the Health Ranger Store. Take care. A global reset is coming, and that's why I've recorded a new 9-hour audiobook. It's called The Global Reset Survival Guide. You can download it for free by subscribing to the naturalnews.com email newsletter, which is also free. I'll describe how the monetary system fails. I also cover emergency medicine and first aid and what to buy to help you avoid infections. So download this guide. It's free. It's my gift to you simply because I want like-minded people to survive.